The idea came from Coach Greg Doucette. Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. Coach Greg did a video. It was a number of things. So many things people never told you about bodybuilding. And he was actually responding to another video that had almost exact same title. So this is just my take on it because these are things that I had no idea about initially many, many years ago when I got involved in the sport. And it's not to say these are all negative things. These are all just they make up the reality, the total reality of what we are and what we do as bodybuilders. So I'm going to go through those, and then we'll get to some of your comments, questions, opinions, trolling, whatever you guys want to do. You see the orange, I'm already getting excited about Halloween. So I'm going to start with the first thing people never told you out of these 7 things people never told you. It's mostly genetics. Bodybuilding is mostly genetics, and by that I mean the way you're going to look ultimately was already determined in your mother's womb or your daddy's scrotum, or a combination of the two. So what I mean is you're born with a certain bone structure, muscle bellies, muscle attachments. Everything is sort of set in stone in terms of that. You can focus on certain areas. You can improve your whole physique, of course. It's not to say that you would need to look like a bodybuilder before you start training, although some of these guys really do, believe it or not. They kind of have that look already. But if you want to look like the guys in the magazines, I'm dating myself. If you want to look like the top Olympian Arnold Classic competitors, the top pros, you do have to understand that that is mostly genetics. They were meant to look that way as long as they started training. And that's another thing is, if your genetics are really spectacular, if you're on that end of the spectrum where you have exceptional genetics, anything you do, you're going to end up looking better than the average person. You can do any type of weight training, high reps, low reps, high volume, low volume. As long as you train these people, I'm talking about these genetic freaks, their body responds spectacularly. It just blows up. This is even before steroids. Someone with really great genetics, they will look better without steroids than almost everyone else with regular genetics could look with all the steroids in the world. It's a sad reality. It's people don't like to talk about this because it can be kind of a bummer when you think about it. Because man, I want to look like that guy, but I can't. Why can't I? Because I didn't have his parents. Your parents passed on all these traits to you. An example is calves. Say you want big calves. You need to have low calf insertions. So let's say this is your knee and this is your ankle. People with really bad calves, all calves originate up here under the knee, but then they insert somewhere between the knee and the ankle. If you look at the people with enormous calves, like the late Mike Matarazzo, Flex Lewis, Dorian Yates, their calves insert very, very low. Fankhauser, Pekulski, these guys with the crazy huge calves, the calves insert way down here. If you look at people with really bad calves, the calves insert very high up. So that means from here to here, there's no muscle. It's just a tendon. You can't build a tendon. You can only build the muscle cells up here. And these other people, they're very fortunate. They have muscle that inserts all the way down here. They have all those muscle cells to work with and grow, whereas the other people, they just have it up here. Anyway, so genetics are a huge, huge part of what you're ultimately going to look like. I don't even have drugs as part of this discussion, honestly, because we've talked about it so many times. Because drugs can't change your genetics. They can make you a bigger version of whatever you are or whatever you're meant to be. I use the example of we're all humans. It's one species, Homo sapiens sapiens. That's our species. But there are many different variations in our species, just like dogs. Dogs are all one species. I don't know if you guys realize that. There's not multiple species of dogs. There's breeds. They're all the same. That's why they can all breed with each other. A Chihuahua and a Great Dane, I think, technically could have a baby. I don't know how that's going to work with the sex, but I'm saying they're genetically compatible. They're all the same species. Humans are all the same species, but we're very, very different in certain ways. So these people with the great genetics, they're very, very different. They're a different breed, as different as a Chihuahua is from a Great Dane. Do you guys know what a Great Dane is? It's a really big dog. Google it if you don't know. Great Dane, D-A-N-E. So, it doesn't really help you to dwell on it because you can't change your genetics. And we can all get better and we can become better versions of what we are. And we can always improve, up to a certain point. After many, many years, you're probably not going to improve anymore. But everybody can start somewhere and get much, much bigger and better than that. Everybody. If you're one of the very rare people with horrible genetics, you could still make some improvements. You can still get a little bit bigger and stronger. But most of us are in this average genetics. We're somewhere here. You know, the bad genetics are over here, great genetics over here. Most of us, we're somewhere in there. We're just average genetics. We can all get much, much bigger and better than we were when we started. So it's encouraging. It's not a sad reality thing. It's nothing to get down about. You can't change your genetics. So it's just a reality that I think people should know and understand, because you have people like Kai Green, who's talks about the power of the mind and everything, and belief and manifesting your beliefs and all that, and positive thinking, which is, it's great. Believe me, I'm all for that. Self-improvement, empowerment, I'm all for those things. But if he has convinced you that you can look like him if you just believe, that's not true. That's like saying I could be 7 feet tall if I really believed it. No, I can't. I can't. It doesn't matter how much I believe. I'm still, this height, a little under 5'8". So yes, that's the first thing is most people never tell you is the genetic component. Very, very powerful. People with great genetics, they're going to look way better than everybody else. It's just the way it is. So there's nothing to dwell on about. Number 2. These are in no particular order. They're not like in importance or anything like that. Eating will become your job. So when I first got into bodybuilding, I had no idea you're supposed to eat more than the average person. I was 18 years old. I was eating 3 times a day, like everybody else, hoping for the best. And this was, when I got into it, this was fall of 87, 88. That was my first year of bodybuilding. So I was reading the magazines and everything, but I wasn't paying a whole lot of attention to the nutrition articles and things like that. And they really didn't talk a whole lot about how to eat to get big. They didn't. Things are much more utilitarian now. They tell you things that you can put into use. Whereas back then it would be, just a lot of fluff pieces. So eating does have to become your job. If you want to be the best bodybuilder you can be, and this isn't saying you're going to be Mr. Olympia or anything, but if you want to be the best you can be, whatever that ends up being, you do have to eat very, very steadily from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed. Coach Greg says he thinks 4 meals a day is fine. I like to do personally 5 solid meals and a shake. So I eat a solid meal at 7 a.m. I go to train. I have a post-workout shake around 11:30. 1 o'clock is meal 2. These are solid food meals. 3:30 is solid meal 3. 6:30 is solid meal 4. 9:30 is solid meal 5. So that's what I do. And other people will eat even more frequently than that. I don't think you need more than 6 feedings a day. You should be able to get in all the nutrients you need, all the protein, carbohydrates, healthy fats within those amount of meals. But you do need to do this consistently every day. You can't just eat like that once when you feel like it or a couple days out of the week. It has to be every day. So that means unless you have either a meal prep company sending you a bunch of food or you're buying it from a meal prep company, or you have someone who's considerate enough and kind enough to cook all your damn food for you. I'm being sexist here, but like a wife or girlfriend. But, those are the old days. It's not like that anymore. You're probably going to have to cook most, if not all, of your own food. You can meal prep, cook things in large amounts, and then freeze them in glass containers or Tupperware containers. Thaw them out as you need to during the week to eat them. That's what most people do. Most people will just take like 1 day a week, Sunday, and meal prep. They'll cook up many, many pounds of chicken, fish, a bunch of potatoes, rice, everything they need for the week, and then eat that as the week goes on. So you're making mass quantities of food. It's actually a lot more efficient that way because you're only cooking once. Granted, it's going to take you a couple hours, but at least you're all done cooking for the week, theoretically. So that's what most people do. But you do need to eat very, very consistently. You need to eat every 2 to 3 hours from the time you wake up, time you go to bed. If you're a hard gainer, one of those people that has a really hard time gaining weight, maybe you have a very fast metabolism, you might even need to get up, have shakes in the middle of the night. I know people who have done meals in the middle of the night. I wouldn't suggest doing that if it's going to interrupt your sleeping. If you're going to lose sleep, you need your sleep to grow too. So, but it's just something a lot of people don't realize when they get into is how much eating you're going to have to do. You're going to have to cook a lot of food. You're going to have to eat a lot of food. Probably gonna have to wash a lot of dishes and clean up pots and pans and baking things and that. So eating is a huge part of this. Lifting is fun. Everybody loves to lift. Not everybody loves to cook. Not everyone wants to eat every 2 to 3 hours. And that gets me to my next point. Number 3, it will get boring. It's very, very repetitive what we do as bodybuilders. Eat, train, sleep, repeat. And yeah, most of us have to work and make some money and pay our bills in there too, right? But it does get very repetitive. A lot of bodybuilders refer to the life that we live, our lifestyle, as Groundhog Day, which remembers that Bill Murray movie, I think from the 90s, where every day he woke up and it was still Groundhog, it was the same day. He had to do the same day over and over again until he got it right. So that's very, very similar to what we do. You know, like I said, I train at the same time every day. I eat my meals at the same time every day. You know, I'm fortunate enough to work at home. And it's not that inconvenient for me, but for people that work in offices or other situations, you will have to pack up your food with you and bring your food with you and have it ready for when you need to eat it. But it does get repetitive. It's not all fun and games. It's a lot of work, and it does get tedious at times. A lot of times you're not going to feel like training. Sometimes you're not going to feel like eating. You're not going to feel like cooking. You'll be like, man, this is getting old. But if you can stick through that, you know, I've heard it say that champions aren't the ones. Champions are the ones that they keep going. What's the phrase? Even when they don't want to. It's even when they're not motivated, they still do what they need to do. They don't need motivation to do all the things they need to do to be the best. They just do it, whether they feel like it or not, whether they want to or not. They just do it because it has to be done. Next one. This is a good one. Women don't like huge muscles. They really don't. There's a tiny, tiny subgroup of women, and they tend to be muscular themselves, that they dig muscular guys, big muscular guys. Most women, maybe they'd want to like try it once or twice or something, you know, take a bodybuilder home once. But most women do not like really extreme muscle mass. And it's kind of ironic because a lot of us, at least I know I got into it thinking, oh man, when I get really big and jacked and buff, man, the girls will be all over me. Nope. I actually got a lot more female attention when I was smaller and just had like abs than I did later on when I got well over 200 pounds. Women, you know, I wouldn't say they like skinny guys. They like an athletic look. They like tall guys, clearly. But as far as like a big bodybuilder that looks all juiced up and massive, most women just look at that and say, ugh. So if you're getting into this thinking, you know, if I get huge, if I get big like Rami, the girls will be all over me. Show Big Rami's picture to a bunch of girls at a bar or a nightclub or, you know, a mall, anywhere. Ask them, do you find this attractive? I guarantee you almost every single one will be like, no, hell no. Oh, that's disgusting. You know, it's a very extreme look. Not many women find it appealing. Ironically, gay men find it very appealing. A lot of gay men do. So I ended up, as most bodybuilders will tell you, you end up getting a lot more attention, especially now that we have social media and they can just DM you or whatever. You get a lot more attention from gay men. Gay men are far more attracted to muscles on a man, big muscles, than women are. You know, so, you know, I don't know if many people would approve of getting into bodybuilding just to try to get girls anyway. It seems like a lot of people would say that's a silly reason to get into it. So I'm just telling you, if that's why you're getting into it, no. You're better off looking like a men's physique guy, or even smaller than that. Just athletic. They like you to be lean, so you got to have some abs, big bushy head of hair, maybe a little bit of arms, a little bit of chest, shoulders. They don't seem to care about big legs or anything. So yeah. So if you build this massive physique and you're like waiting for the women to like come pounding on your door, you're going to be waiting a long ass time, guys. Next one, number 5, things they never told you. The gains will slow way, way down after the first couple of years. You get those newbie gains. When you start training, it's a shock to the system. Everything works. You're growing. You're getting bigger and stronger. Almost every week, you're putting weight on the bar. You're using a little bit more on the stack. You know, you're looking bigger. You're improving because it's a new thing to your body, and your body is struggling to adapt. As time goes by, the more muscle you put on, the harder it is to put on any more muscle. Just like the leaner you get, the harder it gets to get any leaner than that. It's one of those paradoxes. So it makes sense logically. if you kept getting bigger at that rate that you do when you start off, there'd be people walking around like 2,000 pounds ripped. They'd be like the real life Hulk, but we don't see that, you know. And every time I say in the comment, someone will always say, well, we had this argument in a discussion in the last video I did. Someone says, well, I'm 50 and I'm still making gains. And I said, well, you probably started very late. And usually they say, yeah, you're right. I started when I was like 45 or whatever. If you start training when you're a teenager, as most of us do, I was 14, you'll probably make most of your natural gains if you've been training consistently and eating well and sleeping and all that. By the time you're 25 or so, you'll probably put on all the natural muscle you're going to. Then people add gear into that. You probably get another good 5 years of growth gains out of that. And then, you know, maybe you can make a little bit more gains after that. But like I said, if everyone kept gaining and gaining and gaining strength size, we'd have people bench pressing 5,000 pounds. We'd have people weighing 2,000 or 3,000 pounds all muscle. But, you know, we're human beings. We are limited by the biology of being human beings and biological creatures. So next one, number 6, sixth thing people never told you. People will make a lot of assumptions about you because you're a bodybuilder. One thing a lot of times they'll assume you're stupid. It's hilarious to me because I don't claim to be a genius, but I'm a fairly smart guy. I'm bright. I'm a writer. I can't be that stupid. But people will talk to me sometimes, and I can tell they think I'm not that bright. And it doesn't happen now that I'm older so much, but when I was a little younger, I got more of that. And when they were trying to explain things to me, they would try to couch it in terms of like bodybuilding. They'd say, you know, it's like when you go to the gym, and I'm thinking, do they think I'm so dumb that I can only understand what they're talking about if they put it in terms of lifting weights and bodybuilding? Really? They think I'm that dumb? And the next thing I'll tell you, this is not meant to put down personal trainers. I was a personal trainer. But even to this day, when people I don't know, you know, out in the real world, the regular civilian people, they'll ask me, what do you do? Are you a personal trainer? They just assume if you look like this, that's what you must be. You must be a personal trainer, because what else could you do? What else could you know how to do if you look like that? Meanwhile, I know doctors, lawyers, very, very bright, very accomplished people, entrepreneurs, all kinds of people who were very, very intelligent and accomplished, who have a lot of muscle mass. Rick Collins, the attorney, he's older than me. He's still jacked. Dr. George Suliatos, we do a show every week. Just a couple examples. They'll assume that. They'll assume you're very narcissistic, stuck, what's the word I'm looking for? Really into yourself. And, maybe to an extent that's true. You have to have a certain degree of self-interest and narcissism to put the amount of attention and focus into the training and eating to look like a bodybuilder. But they will think that you're, in love with yourself and, just all kinds of things. They'll think you're mean sometimes. I've heard people say things like, oh, bodybuilders all have small penises. Come on, we know that's not true. But people will make these assumptions based on, stereotypes or jealousy or whatever. It's, and I'm even guilty of, when I see a bodybuilder I don't know, like at the gym, I'm immediately like, it's a negative reaction. And I'll think like, juice head, and I'll think, wait a minute, you're on steroids. And you're calling, in your mind, you're judging that guy for being a juice head? Come on, Ron, you're better than that. But, we do judge each other on appearance in this world, unfortunately. And if you're very big and muscular, people are going to assume you're on steroids. If you're that big, you probably are on steroids. But even if you're big and if you're a lot bigger than the average person in the gym, even if you're natural, people will just assume you're on steroids, and they won't believe you when you say you're not. They'll just think you're an a-hole, even if you're the nicest guy in the world. Last thing, you're going to be an outcast. You're not going to really fit into society because you don't live a life like every other person. These other people walking around all day, they don't worry about they're not always thinking about their next meal. Like, when I have to eat again. Like, I'm always like, I've got to eat this shake at 5 o'clock. I got to have I'm always conscious of meal times. I don't want to be out and about when I'm supposed to be eating. A lot of things revolve around my meals. I don't eat a lot of junk food. I don't eat a lot of fast food. I don't drink a lot of alcohol. When I do drink, I drink large amounts, but I don't drink often. So, regular people go about their lives without worrying about what they're going to eat. They don't spend hours a day at the gym. they're not that worried about it. Whereas it has to become a fixation, an obsession. If you really want to maximize your physique, it takes a lot of your time and a lot of your attention. And people won't understand that, regular people. It's like, I'm married, so it doesn't matter. But if I was going to date, it would have to be someone else who lives this lifestyle, or else there'd be a problem very, very soon into a relationship. They'd be asking, why do you need to spend so much time at the gym? Why do you need to eat so much? Why can't you eat this cake? Why can't you drink? Why can't you do this or that? It doesn't, they'd think it's stupid that you're sacrificing and foregoing certain simple pleasures that they partake in every day because you're trying to build this great physique. And they wouldn't understand like what's so important about having a great physique. It won't even, they don't get it. It doesn't register. Anyway, I want to get to some of I'll see if you guys have any questions. Maybe you don't. Maybe you have some comments. You just want to tell me I'm great or horrible or whatever. So let's do the F5 thing, videos. Okay. All right. Let's see what you guys have to say. Try not to look up too much. Okay, so Gohan's son. Gohan was a character from Dragon Ball Z, right? Am I right? It's all about discipline. Yeah, I agree. Jerry says it used to be disregard women, acquire aesthetics back in my day. I think he's saying women found it more attractive when it was more about aesthetics and people weren't so big. Raul Thompson, what's up, bro? I'm making a video. That's what's up. Corleonis, seems like group therapy in an old guy's bedroom with a... Group therapy in an old guy's bedroom with a... No, my bedroom's over there. This is my office. With a rag hanging in the background. That's vinyl. It's not a rag, but thank you. Wow, okay. So, not a lot of comments or questions. Okay, that's fine. All right, well, I guess we can wrap it up early then. We don't have a lot of stuff to go over. But yeah, these are just things that, I wouldn't say they would have deterred me. I kind of wish I had been a little more aware of what I was getting into when I started bodybuilding. Because, it wouldn't have made me decide not to do it, but at least I would have been a little more aware of what I was walking into, what the rest of my life was going to be like if I chose this life, which I did. Lexa, thanks for spitting the truth. Okay, thank you very much. Let's just roll. My brother, do you have experience building a thick round chest, doing variations on push-ups instead of barbell pressing? I don't like push-ups for building a chest because it's not enough resistance. It's just your body weight. Eventually you're going to get to the point where you can do 100, 200 push-ups. That's too much. That's too many repetitions. Maybe if you get someone to lie on your back or put weights on your back, you'd have more resistance. But presses, barbell presses, dumbbell presses, dips, hammer strength, arsenal strength, machine presses. Presses are the best thing. Heavy presses. When I say heavy, I don't mean like 1 rep, 2 rep, 3 reps. I mean like 8 to 12, that rep range, really squeezing the chest, making the chest do the work. Don't forget intermittent fasting for skincare gains. No, I don't like that. I don't like intermittent fasting. I don't like fasting. I don't want to fast. Abbas English. Can much supplements have a kind of similar effect to low doses of gear? No. Drugs are drugs. Drugs work like drugs. If supplements work like drugs, then they would be drugs, and you wouldn't be able to buy them legally. Not to say supplements don't do anything at all, but gear, it's a drug. Drugs work. That's like saying, is there something you could buy over the counter that's going to have an effect like cocaine? Of course not. Cocaine is cocaine. I don't use cocaine. I'm just using it as an example. Let's see. Jeff, I'm a 55-year-old male with high blood pressure and diabetes, but I want to be muscular. How do steroids hold? So you want to know how I do steroids to achieve my dreams? If you have high blood pressure and diabetes, I don't know if you should be using steroids. I mean, high blood pressure, steroids are going to raise your blood pressure, unfortunately, so you don't seem like a good candidate. Lexa 10, how to announce to a new girl you're dating you're taking steroid for bodybuilding? She has no idea. I mean, why does she need to know? Unless the relationship's getting really serious, why is it any of her business, She's just going to judge you harshly for it. Like I said, unless the girl you're dating is part of this world that we're in, that's another thing. They're going to think if you tell them you're on steroids, they're going to be like, oh my God, I'm on steroids. They'll freak out. All they know about steroids is what the media has told them. So that they're just very uninformed and ignorant. They're going to think you're a bad person. They're going to think you're going to die tomorrow from these steroids. So I would say you don't need to tell her unless the relationship gets serious and you really want to divulge all your secrets or something. But I don't think you need to tell her. How does sex affect gains? Don't think it affects it at all. I mean, when you have no sex, it makes you very angry. Maybe it actually help you be a little more aggressive in the gym. I don't think sex has any effect on the gains. No. Dylan asks, great show. Always learn something new every week, and no silly kitty YouTuber crap with catchphrases, etc. Buy my cookbook. That's my catchphrase. Just faction, no bullshit, and decent opinion, open debate. Keep up the good work. Thank you. Brandon Morrison, we at the Pittsburgh Nationals? No. I haven't been to the Nationals since, wow, when was the last Nationals I went to? 2012 or something? I haven't been there. I've only been to a couple Nationals. I've been to a lot more USAs than Nationals. But no, I was not. Last time I was in Pittsburgh was 2013 when I was in Masters Nationals. It's been a long time since I was in Pittsburgh. Abdullah El Magauri, do you think Jeff Cavalier exercises are good for being massive? Well, Jeff Cavalier is a pretty small guy. He's ripped. He's not very big. I mean, I bet if you saw him walk around in a loose shirt, you wouldn't even know he lifted weights. You know, he's got a huge audience, millions of viewers and subscribers, because most people don't want to look like a massive. They want to look like him, athletic and shredded. You know, if you want to be big, you train like you do what the guys who are big do. And you know, we have tons of videos on this channel of training, and that's how it's done. It's, you know, bodybuilding training hasn't really changed a whole lot in 40, 50 years. Let's see. Don Smith. My favorite when dieting is friends saying, tell me what you're on. You're jacked now. Not really. I dropped 20 pounds. Yeah, it's, you know, when you're dieting, when you get really lean, people will tell you you're looking bigger. Well, they're out there, you know. And the funny thing is, you're not bigger. You're actually smaller. You're taking up less space. You're lighter, but you look bigger. I know. I mean, I'm a little under 220. I'm 220 by nighttime after a few meals and a bunch of water. But, you know, I think I look bigger at this weight than when I'm carrying a lot more body fat at like 230, 235, just because you can see the muscle separations and the shape of the muscles and everything comes out more. But yeah, you'll notice when you're dieting, when you're lean, you get a lot more questions, a lot more attention than when you're fat. I would say that. Let's see. Raul Thompson, would you ignore or include any body exercise before or after weight training? I mean, I wouldn't do, if you're trying to be the best bodybuilder you can be, the only other things you should be doing are, you know, training your abs and stretching and things like that. What other exercises are you talking about? I'm not even really sure what you mean by that. Sorry. Jessica E. Roberts. If a family member / friend or significant other, SO, was on steroids, I would want to know so I could make sure they were getting the best help, care, managing their health the best way. That's very noble of you. You're very considerate, but I mean, that's on them. We're talking about adults, and they should really be responsible and accountable for their own health. You know, I'm responsible. I take full responsibility for my own health. I get the blood work, the ultrasound, I got a CAT scan on my heart too, the calcium score. You have to be proactive and you have to take responsibility. It shouldn't be up to people around you to encourage you to look after your health. You should do that yourself if you're an adult. Dylan, would you ever do a video explaining your bodybuilding journey from start to where you are now? It would be pretty cool. See pros and cons, what you do differently, if anything. Yeah, I'll do one of those. What the heck? I'm always looking for a great topic, so thank you very much, Dylan, for that idea. Benjamin Salame, should I start taking steroids till after I have children? Well, there are many men who have used steroids and went on to have plenty of children. Ronnie Coleman has had like 10 children, I believe, and I think he got a lot of these women pregnant when he was on steroids somehow, because for most people when they're on steroids, their sperm count is like gone. But you know, if you want to be 100% sure of your fertility, yeah, don't use steroids. But Dr. Thomas O'Connor, who I do videos with sometimes, he has his channel Anabolic Doc and his website. He helps a lot of men conceive, get their wives, girlfriends, whoever pregnant, even though they've been on steroids for many years. I think they use HCG is the primary drug that they give these guys, and I think there's another one, but there are ways to still get the fertility back. But if you want to be 100% sure that you can have children, yeah, don't use steroids. There's always a chance that you might destroy your fertility for good. Let's see. Jeff, can you recommend something I can use in addition to cardio and diet to lose stomach fat? I do have high blood pressure and diabetes. With high blood pressure, that's you probably want to avoid a lot of the fat burners that have a lot of stims in them because that can raise your blood pressure. There are plenty of good fat burners. I use Double Tap from Redcon in the morning. If you want one that has no stims in it, they make Silencer. But, generally speaking, most of your results in terms of fat loss are going to be not from a fat burner. It's going to be your diet, a really clean, low-carb diet, low sugar especially, and cardio. That's it. There's no magic pills. There are drugs, obviously. I wouldn't want to see you, especially with high blood pressure and diabetes. Bodybuilders use clenbuterol, T3, this DNP. I always come down on I hate DNP. Never used it, never seen it, but a good friend of mine was using it, and man, he was so miserable. Some days he couldn't even get to the gym. He was feeling so physically horrible. Just I can't imagine using something that's supposed to make you look better, and it makes you look better, but you feel that badly. Let's see. Raul Thompson, my brother Ron, who are your top 5 poser of all time and why? I'm not going to say why. Would you consider Bob Paris the best artistic poser of all times? Bob was a very, very good poser. Lee Labrada was incredible. Going way, way back, if you saw the movie Pumping Iron, Ed Corney, in his own way, was very, very masterful poser. Terrence Ruffin right now is really good. Kai Green was one of the greatest, most entertaining. Vince Taylor was the first one to come out with the robot. There have been a lot of great posers, but yeah, I would still go back to like Bob Paris, Lee Labrada. They were just very, very classical, very graceful. But these days, Terrence Ruffin is probably one of my favorite guys out there, for sure. There's a couple others. I know I'm leaving a couple people out. It's not intentional. It's just my mind is like scatterbrained all the time. Lexa 10, do you think posing should be more regarded in the points count during competition? I struggle with that question, and here's why. Say somebody's got not such a great physique. They don't look that great, but they're an incredible poser. Then you got somebody who is they look amazing, spectacular physique, not such a great poser. So if you give all the points in the posing round to that person who's a great poser but looks bad, and you score the other guy who's a bad poser low, that gives a chance for this other person to advance in the points because they're a great poser. But should they? I would like everyone to be at least a decent poser. It's cringy when someone's a bad poser, when it's really awkward and you can tell they're making up their routine and it's just they can't think of another pose to do. They're repeating the same poses over and over again. Even in just the judging, the mandatory poses and the quarter turns, when you see somebody who they don't keep their stomach held in, they let their gut hang and they slouch their shoulder. I don't like to see any of that. I like to see everyone look professional on stage, be a good poser, give a good presentation. But should the posing count more in the judging? I don't know. I really struggle with that. I really do. So I don't have an answer for that because, like I said, you can't just you're gonna give that round to somebody because they're a great poser, even if their physique is way, way worse than everyone else's. Like I could outpose a lot of these pros. I guarantee you, a lot of them in the pro shows. They all look way better than me. Would you have me beating them in the posing round? I'd love to say yes, but I would say no. Come on, that's ridiculous. Let's see, what else we got? Abbas English. Abbas is a great Persian name. What's your take on fat burners? What are your favorite and effective ones? Animal cuts? I haven't used a ton of modern ones. I'm with Redcon. I use theirs. I like Double Tap a lot. It's a powder. I mix it up and I drink that, and then I take my dog Branch for about a half hour, 35-minute walk. So that's my morning fasted cardio, and it works well. I don't have to do a lot of cardio in addition to that. Maybe like 20, 30 minutes 3 times a week at the gym after my weights, because I'm doing it every morning when I walk Branch. And so I like that. But if you're looking for me to rate all the different supplement companies and fat burners, I haven't used that many of them, so I can't say which ones are more effective than others. Sorry, guy. Zangazilla, where do you see Molnar and Timms in Classic? First call out? There's so many guys I think are good enough to be in that first call out. I would hate to be a judge, man, but Timms for sure. Peter Molnar is very good too. But man, look at how stacked you have this. Jeez, I'm only looking at the Arnold lineup, and you have, because you know Breon's not doing the Arnold, Bumstead's not doing the Arnold, but almost everyone else is. Jeez, you got Brian Jones, Alex Cambronero, Logan's going to be in the Arnold, Courage Parra I just did an interview with. Dude, it's going to be a very, very tough first call out. It's never going to be more than 6 guys. It's going to be 5 or 6 guys in that call out. If we're talking about the Olympia, I mean, obviously Bumstead, the champ, is going to be in the first call out. Timms looks really good, man. Breon looks good. Jeez. These judges, you guys, I wouldn't want to be a judge. Man, it's tough. Best style of training, in your opinion, from Abdallah El Magari? Whatever works for you is the best. And, you know, even if you're lucky, you stumble upon a style of training that will work for you forever, like Ronnie Coleman. Ronnie didn't change his training. The whole time he was Mr. Olympia, the whole time Dorian was Mr. Olympia, they did the same workouts every week pretty much for, you know, years, and they kept improving, getting better. You have to try a lot of different things. You have to try lower reps, higher reps, try every different exercise. What gives you the best feeling in the muscle? What gives you the best results? There's no one style of training, just like there's no real style of eating. There's no one way. You know, some people love a low carb diet. Some people, and they get ripped. Some people like a low fat diet. Some people love high fat and no carbs. And you know, there's different things that different people are going to react and respond to. So you have to try a lot of different ways of training and really take notes and see what gives you the best results. And that might not even give you the best results forever. After a few years, couple of years, your body might get so acclimated to that style of training that the only way you're going to see any further progress is something different. Do something different. Is GH better, safer than steroids? I don't think I'm qualified to answer that. It definitely has a lot fewer side effects, especially if you're using, you know, I started back in February. I'm very honest about this. I started consistently using GH. I tried it a couple times before, but never long enough to really see any results. I've been using it since February of this year, February 17th to be exact. No side effects, as far as I can tell. I haven't seen any negative health markers, blood markers, anything like that. At higher doses, it does have problems. People have like wrist pain. You know, eventually, if you use enough of it for a long time, you can get that Cro-Magnon look to your face, where the brow grows, the nose grows, the jaw grows. You get a brow ridge like a caveman, but that's higher doses for a long time. So I think GH is safer than steroids. You're asking, was better? It's not better. It doesn't. I don't think GH by itself would make anybody get much bigger muscles. It definitely helps you get leaner without doing anything else. I think that's a big reason I'm leaner than I've ever been, just walking around all the time. I do eat very clean most of the time, but if I want some ice cream or if I want a few pieces of pizza once or twice a week, I have it. I don't restrict myself because I'm not dieting for a contest or anything. But GH, safer overall, yeah. You don't see people having kidney failure. You don't see the heart effects. I don't know if it's harmless in long term. I don't know what the long-term effects are, but generally speaking, I would say, yeah, GH is safer than steroids. But you're not going to see those gains. You're not going to see the much bigger muscles that you would with steroids from growth hormone. Put them both together, and they do have a synergistic effect. I have heard a lot of reputable people say you need higher amounts of GH, like a minimum of 6 or 8. I use something a day to see gains, muscle growth in conjunction with steroids from it. Otherwise, you just see, fat burning effects in your hair, your nails, different things are, they grow better. Let's see. Jeff, do you know of any bodybuilder who struggle with high blood pressure and diabetes? Tons of them. Tons. Diabetes, not so much, but a lot of your high blood pressure. If you're not careful, every steroid can give you high blood pressure. Some of them are worse than others. For me, the orals, D-bol, Anadrol especially, seem to, because anything that causes a lot of water retention is going to blow up your blood pressure too. So for me, those orals, Anadrol and D-bol, were the two most, the two worst. They had the worst effect on me. I've only had high blood pressure a couple times in my life, and it's when I was using those and I was bulked up and I was fat and I was puffy with water. Yeah, but normally my blood pressure is, believe it or not, it's fine. Zhangwa Ziwa, you saw these guys at the peak. Who was better, Levroni or Flex? Flex. Kevin was great, don't get me wrong. Flex was just, when Flex was 100% on or close to it, he's damn near perfect. I missed the Arnold that he won in '93, but I was at his pro debut at the Ironman a week or two before that. He looked phenomenal. I saw Flex so many times looking so damn good. The Olympia '93, that first year he did it, where he took second at Doran, he looked so good. Flex just had such beautiful shape and proportions, symmetry. Not many people have that total package. The structure, the shape, the size, everything really flowed on that physique. Flex to me was still, to me, it's probably the greatest physique of all time. Yeah, I know he never won an Olympia, but man, to see him in person back in his prime, it was just mind-blowing. You're like, wow, that dude right there looks awesome. Ron, why would you just now start GH even though you're not competing? Seems pretty useless. No. Most people who are prescribed GH are over the age of 40 or 50. So it's a commonly prescribed to older men for life extension purposes. It just makes they call it the fountain of youth. It's growth hormone. It's something that the levels decline drastically as you get much older. I have given very serious thought to competing next year at the North American. I hate to say it because then everyone's going to jump in my freaking class. You suck, you guys, if you do that. How dare you? But no, if you're going to use GH, I think it makes more sense. Whether you're a bodybuilder or a regular guy, it makes more sense when you're older and your body doesn't make much of it anymore. You can Google all the benefits of growth hormone. It has many, many benefits. So using it when you're older actually makes a lot more sense, because that's when you need the fountain of youth. When you're old, you don't need it when you're in your youth. That makes sense. Imperium ran a question on testosterone as TRT. 600 milligrams a week. Okay, so TRT would be testosterone replacement therapy, which would be an amount to replace what your body would normally make, but either you never had it in the first place, you're hypogonadal, or you lost your ability to produce testosterone because you abused steroids for a long time, like me. But they would never give you 600 milligrams a week, never, because true TRT, testosterone replacement, it's only to bring you into high normal range for your test. So the typical TRT dose that a doctor gives you is 100 to 200 milligrams a week. No doctor is giving anybody, no legitimate MD is giving anybody 600 milligrams a week. So I don't really know how to answer that question. Abbas, you have some good tips for the last touches when cutting, preparing for competition, getting rid of that last layer of fat or subcutaneous water. You just have to keep going, keep dieting. A lot of people will stop at a certain point when they think they're lean enough. Then they get to the contest and realize, oh man, I wasn't lean enough. Other people were leaner than me and they beat me. You just have to keep dieting. It gets harder. You have to keep doing the cardio. I prepped. My last time I competed, it was like a 20-week prep. I did Team Universe and Masters Nationals. They were 2 weeks apart. So it was 18-week prep. I'm sorry. I started 16 weeks out from the first show. So it was 18 weeks of dieting and cardio. It sucked. Especially the last few weeks, they were miserable. You have like no energy, no enthusiasm. You're tired, you're cranky, you're hungry, but you just have to keep going. The water thing, most people don't need to lose much water. They don't get lean enough and they look in the mirror and say, that's water. It's not, it's fat. If your glutes, if there's no striations on your glutes, that's not because there's water. There's still fat on them. Whereas a lot of people, they just think, well, I'm just going to drop my water at the end and I'll be shredded. Not unless the body fat's gone, you're not going to be. You got to get that body fat off, and it's a lot of work for most people. A lot of work. Z, if you're serious about competing, then do it, man. I know. You could have done pretty good this past weekend at USA's. No, I would not have done well in the Open USA's. I would have done very, very well at the IFBB North American. I'm 50 years old. I would have been a heavyweight. No disrespect to the guy that won, but I would have given that guy a battle. And personally, because every bodybuilder thinks they're the greatest, I think I could have won. Again, no disrespect, Jeff. You look great. We all have to have confidence as bodybuilders. Don't perceive it as arrogance. You have to believe in yourself and your abilities if you compete. Otherwise, why are you doing it? If you don't think you can win, why are you competing? What's the point? So, yeah, I will. I'll do it. Don't worry. Zanga Zilwa. Do you think George Zabul can ever win an Olympia? He always comes third. I don't know. He's a hell of a nice guy. I love George. I'd love to see him win an Olympia. It's so tough, man. It's so tough. 212 this year is going to be... Dude, you have Sean Clarita, freak, built like a... He's massive. Kamal Elgarni's looking bigger. He wants his title back. Derek Lunsford is looking ridiculous. Keon Pearson. Oh, my God. There's so many more. 212 is just stacked. You have George. George was third. He's great. Oh, it's tough, man. I don't know if he can... Can he win? There have been guys over the years, Sean Ray, Kevin Leveroni, Flex Wheeler, 3 names always pop into my head. To this day, it boggles my mind because I saw them competing all those years, and I always assumed, for all 3 of those guys, I always assumed they would win the Olympia eventually, and they never did. Doesn't mean they weren't good enough to win Olympia or that they shouldn't have won Olympia, but they didn't. Just, for whatever reason, they ran up against people like Dorian Yates and Ronnie Coleman, who were just very, very tough to beat. So, man, I don't know if George can win Olympia. I love George. He's a cool dude. I love talking to him. I hope he does. I wish him the best. Is GH legal? Steven says, wow. I don't know what he's saying, wow. GH legal. Rick Collins actually made a video or something. It was on his Instagram, I believe. Rick Collins, Esquire, is a very famous attorney. GH is legal to have. I don't think you can get in trouble for having it. You can't sell it. You'll get in trouble for selling growth hormone, but I don't think it's illegal if you have it. I don't. It's not a steroid. Don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure it's not legal, but it's not illegal. Meaning, I think it's okay to use it and have it. You just can't go around selling it. That's bad. Abdallah again. How to differentiate between hip asymmetry and lower back injury? Dude, totally unqualified for that. That is a question for a physical therapist or a chiropractor. I would say more so a doctor of physical therapy, which I am clearly not. I have no medical training. So I'm sorry. I can't help you with that one. And what's a good routine for maintaining a lower back strength and what to do? I don't even want to touch that one. I mean, you could do... There are exercises like good mornings, hyperextensions. There are a lot of exercises you can look into, but I don't feel qualified. Anyway, guys, I have to go pick up my dog from doggy daycare. Branch the Buppas, my pit bull mix. He's on Instagram. Branch the Buppas. That's Buppas. You can follow him. He's cute as hell. I thank you so much for watching. I hope this has been helpful. It was 7 things they never told you about bodybuilding. I'll be back with another one of these videos fairly soon, I'm sure. But again, please subscribe to the channel. Please like the video, give a thumbs up, share the video, hit the little notification bell so you know when we do more videos, all that good stuff, because without you guys watching, we are nothing. So that's it. Thank you so much. See you guys next time.